Golden Age. Hollywood created some of the most admired men in American entertainment. Audiences saw heroic leading men, trusted television fathers, and beloved stars who seemed to embody confidence, strength, and certainty. Yet behind many of those carefully crafted images stood a far more complicated reality. During an unforgiving era shaped by studio contracts, morality clauses, and harsh societal expectations, living openly could come at a devastating cost. For some performers, protecting a career meant hiding a fundamental part of themselves for decades. Their greatest performance was often the one that happened after the cameras stopped rolling. These are not stories of scandal, but stories of resilience, sacrifice, and quiet courage. And few lives illustrate that hidden burden more clearly than the man who appeared to have everything Hollywood could offer.
Yes.
Rock Hudson.
Finally, they fall out.
To be single beds. Yes, but also, in getting back to your question,
Rock Hudson seemed to represent everything Hollywood wanted in a leading man. Tall, handsome, and effortlessly charismatic, he became one of the biggest stars of the 1950s and 1960s. Films such as Giant and Pillow Talk helped establish his image as a confident romantic hero. To millions of moviegoers, Hudson appeared to be the perfect American man, successful, admired, and completely at ease in the spotlight. Behind that carefully crafted image stood a very different reality. During the height of Hollywood's studio era, a star's personal life was closely managed to protect box office appeal. For a gay actor, the consequences of public exposure could be severe. Studios feared controversy, gossip columnists searched for damaging stories, and careers could disappear overnight. Hudson spent years navigating those pressures. His marriage to Phyllis Gates has often been cited by historians as part of Hollywood's culture of concealment. While audiences saw confidence and charm, Hudson privately carried the burden of secrecy. Every interview and public appearance required him to protect an image that was never allowed to fully reflect who he was. The final years of Hudson's life changed public conversation in America, when he became one of the first major celebrities publicly linked to AIDS. Many people were forced to confront realities they had previously ignored. His death in 1985 remains deeply significant, revealing the human cost of prejudice and silence. While Rock Hudson hid behind the image of the perfect leading man, Tab Hunter would hide behind the smile of America's golden boy. Tab Hunter looked like the perfect Hollywood success story. With his blonde hair, easy charm, and boy-next-door appeal, he became one of the most popular young stars of the 1950s. His films attracted devoted audiences. His music career added to his fame, and fan magazines celebrated him as an ideal American bachelor. To millions of admirers, Hunter seemed to represent confidence, romance, and youthful optimism. A dream image carefully crafted for public consumption. Away from the spotlight, however, Hunter faced pressures that many fans never imagined. During the studio era, executives worked hard to protect the marketability of their stars. For gay actors, even rumors could threaten future opportunities. Gossip columnists constantly searched for stories, and privacy became difficult to maintain. Hunter later reflected on how carefully he had to navigate public life while keeping important parts of himself hidden. Like many performers of his generation, he learned to separate his public image from his personal reality. The cost of that separation was often loneliness, and the feeling that authenticity had to wait for another time. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Hunter eventually had the opportunity to tell his story openly. In later years, he spoke with honesty and dignity about the challenges he had faced. His legacy became one of resilience rather than regret. While Tab Hunter concealed his truth behind a bright smile, Robert Reed carried his own hidden burden behind America's most beloved television family. Robert Reed became a familiar face in American homes through his role as Mike Brady on The Brady Bunch. Week after week, audiences saw him as the calm, dependable father at the center of a loving family. He projected patience, wisdom, and stability, becoming one of television's most recognizable father figures. To viewers, Reed appeared to embody traditional family values, exactly the image television networks wanted during that era. Behind the scenes, Reed's reality was far more complicated. Although he was a talented actor with serious dramatic ambitions, he often felt constrained by the wholesome
It was his
sitcom that
incredible
made him
talent and
famous.
potent charisma
At
that
the
helped
same
him
time,
rise to one of the
he
most
carried the
popular
burden of
shows
keeping
on
his private
television
life
during its
hidden.
Brady Bunch would have been an
During the
entirely different show
1960s and
if he didn't vent his
1970s,
frustration
television
relatively
executives
well
worried
known.
that any
The book
deviation
also
from
revealed the
accepted social
severity of Robert's
expectations
drinking
could
problem. Him were
damage a
very
show's
understanding
success.
about the struggles he faced,
As a gay
and
man
they were all
portraying
very would have
America's
been
ideal
largely the
father,
same. Let us know
Reed
your
lived with a
opinion in the
difficult
comment section.
contradiction.
And
The character that brought him fame also reinforced the silence he felt obligated to maintain. While audiences embraced the fictional family he helped create, much of his authentic self remained carefully protected from public view. In later years, colleagues often remembered Reed as thoughtful, intelligent, and deeply committed to his craft. After his death in 1992, a fuller picture of his life gradually emerged. His story reminds us that public admiration does not always bring personal freedom. While Robert Reed hid behind the image of the perfect television father, Paul Lynde used humor itself as a shield against a world that demanded silence. Paul Lynde became one of television's most unforgettable personalities through his sharp wit and unmistakable delivery. Whether on Bewitched or Hollywood Stories,
Oh yeah, I've been watching you work. Give me a little whistle.
audiences loved his
I'm a little
playful personality.
Move it in, move it out, move it in and about disco, baby.
A talent that made him a fixture of American television during the 1960s and 1970s. Yet Lynde's public success existed within strict limits. At a time when television executives demanded conformity, many performers were expected to avoid discussing their personal lives. Lynde's mannerisms and comedic style often hinted at parts of his identity, but Hollywood preferred those hints to remain unspoken. The industry allowed audiences to laugh with him while avoiding deeper conversations about who he truly was. Humor became both a career advantage and a protective shield. Behind the laughter stood a man navigating loneliness, scrutiny, and the pressure to remain carefully undefined. For many years, maintaining that balance was simply the price of staying visible in mainstream entertainment. Although Lynde never experienced the public freedom that later generations would enjoy, his influence remains significant. He helped expand what audiences could accept on television, even when the culture was not yet ready for full honesty. His story reflects both resilience and loss.
Variety shows.
While Paul Lynde used comedy to mask hidden struggles, Raymond Burr protected his private world through silence, distance, and extraordinary discipline. Raymond Burr became one of television's most respected authority figures through his role as Perry Mason. Week after week, audiences watched him uncover the truth, defend the innocent, and bring order to complicated situations. His calm confidence and commanding presence made him one of the most trusted faces on American television. Later, his success continued with Ironside, further strengthening his reputation as a man of intelligence, strength, and integrity. Exactly the qualities viewers admired. Away from the cameras, Burr guarded his personal life with remarkable care. During the middle decades of the 20th century, many public figures believed privacy was essential for survival. Hollywood executives, journalists, and audiences often expected leading men to fit a narrow image of masculinity. Burr understood those expectations and rarely invited public attention into his private world. For many years, he shared a lasting relationship with actor Robert Benavides, yet the relationship remained largely outside public discussion. Rather than challenge the system directly, Burr chose discretion. His double life was not built on publicity stunts or dramatic denials, but on silence, patience, and the determination to protect what mattered most. Unlike some stars whose lives ended in tragedy, Burr found stability through a long-term partnership that endured for decades. His story reminds us that love often survives even when recognition does not. Beneath the image of authority was a man seeking the same companionship and acceptance as anyone else. While Raymond Burr protected his truth through quiet discipline, Montgomery Clift struggled beneath pressures that left far deeper scars. And Richard Chamberlain became one of television's most admired leading men during the 1960s. His breakthrough role in Dr. Kildare turned him into a household name, while later productions such as Shogun and The Thornbirds expanded his reputation around the world. Audiences saw him as intelligent, sophisticated, and deeply romantic. For decades, Chamberlain represented the classic image of a television heartthrob, a role that brought enormous success but also significant personal pressure. Like many stars of his era, Chamberlain understood that Hollywood often rewarded carefully managed public images. Throughout much of his career, he kept his private life away from public discussion. The entertainment industry had become more open than it had been during the studio era, yet fears about career consequences still remained. Leading men were expected to fit specific expectations, particularly when their fame depended on romantic roles. Chamberlain later acknowledged how difficult it was to live with that separation between public perception and personal truth. For years, he balanced professional success with the emotional burden of remaining guarded. The double life was not created by dishonesty, but by a culture that often made honesty feel risky. Unlike many men discussed in this video, Chamberlain eventually had the opportunity to tell his story openly. His memoir offered a thoughtful reflection on identity, acceptance, and personal freedom. By speaking publicly later in life, he provided encouragement to others facing similar struggles. His journey stands as a reminder that authenticity sometimes arrives after decades of patience, courage, and quiet endurance. Richard Chamberlain became one of television's most admired leading men during the 1960s. His breakthrough role in Dr. Kildare turned him into a household name, while later productions such as Shogun and The Thornbirds expanded his reputation around the world. Audiences saw him as intelligent, sophisticated, and deeply romantic. For decades, Chamberlain represented the classic image of a television heartthrob, a role that brought enormous success but also significant personal pressure. Like many stars of his era, Chamberlain understood that Hollywood often rewarded carefully managed public images. Throughout much of his career, he kept his private life away from public discussion.
Really went for it.
The entertainment industry had become more open than it had been during the studio era, yet fears about career consequences still remained. Leading men were expected to fit specific expectations, particularly when their fame depended on romantic roles. Chamberlain later acknowledged how difficult it was to live with that separation between public perception and personal truth. For years, he balanced professional success with the emotional burden of remaining guarded. The double life was not created by dishonesty, but by a culture that often made honesty feel risky. Unlike many men discussed in this video, Chamberlain eventually had the opportunity to tell his story openly. His memoir offered a thoughtful reflection on identity, acceptance, and personal freedom. By speaking publicly later in life, he provided encouragement to others facing similar struggles. His journey stands as a reminder that authenticity sometimes arrives after decades of patience, courage, and quiet endurance. The stories of these men remind us that true strength is not always found in the heroes we see on screen. Sometimes it is found in the quiet endurance required to survive an era that demanded silence. Rock Hudson, Tab Hunter, Robert Reed, Paul Lynde, Raymond Burr, Montgomery Clift, and Richard Chamberlain each carried burdens that many fans never saw. Behind fame, success, and admiration often stood loneliness, sacrifice, and the desire to live honestly. Their legacy is larger than their careers. It is a reminder that every public image hides a human story. Perhaps the greatest courage is not becoming a star, but remaining yourself when the world asks
We
you to
liked
be
each other
someone
from
else.
that day
Do you
on.
think Hollywood
We
today has truly
connected,
become a more
and I
accepting
think-
place? Thank you for watching Hollywood Trainer. Until next time, take care and keep exploring the stories behind the legends.